Hello everybody, welcome back to the Garden of Patagonia. We are at the Patagonia racetrack here just outside of Via La Angostura for the MXGP of Patagonia, Argentina. MX2 race 2 is almost upon us, another 30-minute plus 2-lap affair. Won't tell you who won the first race if you're joining us for the first time today, because we will have the highlights coming up in just a few moments' time. But so far here, in terms of manufacturers' wins, Kawasaki have won once in MX2 with Dylan Brandis in 2015. KTM winning here the last 2 years with Jeffrey Hurlings in MX2 in 16, and Paul Jonas going 1-1 last year here in 2017 on his KTM. But who will it be that stands on the top step of the podium today at the opening round of the FIM Motocross World Championship here in Patagonia? 24 degrees, well, it was about 19 at the start of race 1 for MX2, so it's shifting, and we were expecting rain today, and I'm glad to say that we had that through the early hours of this morning, and this 1,550-metre long racetrack is absolutely primed and ready to go once more. Water has gone down, the jump faces have been fixed, but nothing else. The bumps have stayed the same, so it's going to be a real test, certainly as the temperatures start to rise. Fans have been enjoying it. We've loved every moment of it as well, but here are the highlights from MX2 Race 1 just a couple of hours ago. Well, the gate dropped, and over on the far side, Jonas got squeezed by Thomas Kjær-Olsen and Ben Watson, but it was Hunter Lawrence with the first foxhole shot of 2018. He led coming through the first few turns. He was closely pursued by Darian Sinai, Ben Watson, Thomas Kjær-Olsen, Paul Jonas and Henry Jacobi. But not before long, though, almost immediately actually, it was Darian Sinai who led on his Kawasaki. Lawrence was second, Ben Watson was third, and Jonas was fourth on the number 1, with Thomas Kjær-Olsen trying to keep the defending champ in his sights. First man to strike, though, was Jonas. He made that move on Watson to go into third place, and that was before the end of the first official lap. And then we saw another change for the lead. Lawrence on lap 3, finding his way past Darian Sinai on that Bikit DRT Kawasaki. The Honda 114 Motorsports rider number 96 led then for the next, I don't know, 7 or 8 laps, something like that, but still charging his way through. Paul Jonas, he'd found his rhythm, he'd got into the groove, and on lap 5, he was now in second, giving chase to the number 96 Australian. Sinai then came under attack from Thomas Kjær-Olsen, and on the 9th lap, the Dane was through with that neat move over one of the jumps, working his way back towards the finish line area. Lawrence then started to make 1 or 2 little problems, and that gave enough motivation for Jonas to find himself onto the rear wheel. And just a couple of corners later, Lawrence went wide, Jonas carved up the inside, and on lap 12 of 19, the Latvian, the defending champion, was through into the lead, and from there he wouldn't look back. A little bit further back, Seba Bryakov was in a huge battle. He eventually came home in 8th, just behind Michele Chervelin and Jed Beaton, but it was Paul Jonas who went on to win the first race of 2018. Hunter Lawrence came home second, Thomas Kjær-Olsen, Ben Watson and Henry Jacobi rounded out the top 5. Right, a few moments ago, Lisa Leyland was down on the grid. She caught up with the unlucky Darian Sinai, but she also found a very special guest, a Monster Energy representative, and also a Yamaha Dakar rider. Let's see who that is. I'll tell you. It's Adrian Van Beveren.
Okay, joining me on the start of the second MX2 race of the day, we have Adrian Van Beveren. Adrian, you're quite a regular to our MXGP event. You having a good time so far?
Yeah, I really enjoy MXGP. Even more here in Argentina. I really love this country. And yeah, it's a pleasure for me to be with the crew, with Monster Energy, with Yamaha, all my family. Yeah. Just right after the Dakar, after my crash, I'm still recovering. So I enjoy this time on the Argentina sun.
And of course, you and Roman Federer go back quite a while, don't you? You guys used to train together, didn't you?
Yeah, I have a really good relation with Roman. It's a cool person. I appreciate his way of work also. And we are on the same family with Yamaha and Monster, so it's fine. When we were kids, we were riding together in the French Kids Championship. Then I leave this. I'm now focused on the Dakar, on the rallies, but I'm still really passionate about motocross.
And of course, like you said, the Dakar, you had a crash. It was your collarbone, wasn't it, that you injured? How's that? Give us an update on the recovery there.
Yeah, you know, it was not only the collarbone. I had broken ribs, My lungs also was bad, but yeah, I'm okay now. It's 1.5 months after the crash. I'm on my foot, and I will be fine in 1 month. I'm again on the bike.
Okay, well, Adrian, have a fantastic day, and it's great to have you at an event.
Thank you very much. See you next time.
Joining me now, we have Garrison. Bittersweet first moto for you. I mean, you got a great start. You were running in second, but a frustrating end. Tell us what happened.
Yeah, it was. My bike got out to a really good start. I was like second or third around the first turn, and then I ended up leading, and I was leading for a few laps, so that felt really good. It's been a while since we've raced, and yeah, it felt good to lead and stuff, and I was battling up front with those guys, so that was good. But yeah, unfortunately the bike, not sure exactly what happened to it, but it made it just so I couldn't continue. But I think it'll be sorted for this one, and we'll go try to do the same.
Well, looking back to last year, you actually got a 6th and a 4th in this moto, but it must be quite a good track for you. You looked pretty strong out there.
Yeah, I like this round. Last year it was my best round out of all of them, so I was pretty excited that it was going to be the first one of the championship. But yeah, I feel good here. I like the track. I like the air. I like the fans. Everything's pretty good. So.
Winter training program went okay? Are you where you want to be?
Yeah, it was my first winter in Europe, so that was a bit different. But I feel like I'm a better all-around rider and stuff, so should make for a good season.
Have a great race. Thanks, Darian. Good luck to all the guys. It's time for MX2 Race 2.
Back live then, and Adam Wheeler from OnTrackOffroad.com joins me now. Great to see you again, Adam. As a rider's lineup here, based on their qualifying race yesterday, same for both motos. What did you make of that first MX2 race?
Yeah, hi Paul. Great to be back. Fantastic first GP of the year, isn't it, here in Argentina? A great track as well. The guys have done some work on it, you know, through the evening, late yesterday, just to fill a couple of riders' requests. And I think, you know, we're seeing some good racing today. In MX2, the first one, Paul Jonas really just showed his pace from yesterday, taking pole position and hunting down, you know, Hunter Lawrence leading, you know, MX2 again, like he showed some good form at the end of 2017. So I spoke with Hunter afterwards. He said he just made a couple of small mistakes. The lap times are very similar, and that was really the difference in that first moto.
All right, and what about Paul Jonas? Obviously, the defending champion, getting off to the best possible start. In fact, he's topped every group and brought it home with a race win as well in Moto number 1.
Yeah, and we're just looking at that bike there. I mean, that's pre-production 2019 model. That's prototype stuff from KTM, and so far those bikes have proved that, you know, they've made another step.
Yeah, and I know the Kawasaki that Sanai is riding as well. More on that in just a moment. But as you can see, the MX2 riders going to the line for their second 30-minute plus 2-lap race. The MX2 Grand Prix of Patagonia, Argentina is about to get underway. The MX2 riders then lining up on the gates here at Patagonia Racetrack. My name's Paul Malin. Alongside me, Adam Wheeler from OnTrackOffroad.com. Adam Wheeler, Hunter Lawrence there, just getting himself in the groove. Barring any mistakes, could he possibly win the second moto and take the overall away from Jonas?
Absolutely, Paul. The lap times are that close in the first moto, so I think it's going to be between those two unless somebody could pull a surprise start here. I mean, don't rule out Thomas Olsen, who was also really quick. Third place in the first moto. And this guy as well, who always seems to excel in the overseas Grand Prix.
No mention of Jorge Prado or Kelvin B'elanna, and apparently those two came together whilst well placed in that first race. Where were they when they crashed out? 7th and 8th, and they worked their way back from 25th on lap 4 or 5 for Prado and 28th for B'elanna, and they both scored points, but not the starts that they wanted.
No, absolutely not. Well, the guy who had the best start to the race in the first moto was Darian Van. Well, we spoke to him a minute ago on the pre-grid. If he can do that again, then it'll be cool to see a Kawasaki up there, you know, a different brand. I mean, Dylan Ferrandis took some wins here 2 years ago, I think.
Yeah, he won the overall the first time that we came here, and obviously that was helped by the fact that Jeffrey Hurlings and Paul Jonas collided and took Jeffrey out of the first race. But 15-second board has gone up here. MX2 race 2, 30 minutes plus 2 laps is all that stands in the way between the start of this race in the checker flag, and the 5-second board has turned. Jonas up the inside again, like he was in moto number 1. He got squeezed to the inside last time, but it's him that comes across Thomas Olsen and Ben Watson. Watson jostling, and well, I don't even know how he stayed up there as they came through.
It's one of the Huskies, is it?
Yeah,
Covington or Olsen?
It's Thomas Olsen, I think, up around the pegs around the outside, but it's Jonas who leads. And was it Covington?
going up the hill, one of the Yamahas. Is that Ben Watson making a start there, fourth place?
Ben Watson right there from the inside gate, just like he did in Moto number 1. But like I say, and Sinai is right there as well into 4th. So it's Jonas Covington. David Pooches made a great start, but he's still in there now in 2nd position, look. So it's Jonas Pooches. Up the inside, we've got, or around the outside, I should say, Covington. And then, is that Thomas Garrison in there? I think it is as well. Yargo Kietz has made a good start, so too has Watson. And it's Watson closest to us here on that Yamaha. That's just ahead of Sinai. Yargo Kietz almost runs into the back of Sinai as they round out that turn on the infield section. This is where sometimes riders come unstuck up into that slow, tight right around the tree. There's Bernardini going through, and also there's Hunter Lawrence buried with his teammate Bas Varson as well. So around about 10th or 12th position for the 2 Honda 114 Motorsport riders, Adam.
Yeah, and Olsen in 7th place at the moment, 3rd place in the first moto. So you've got to keep an eye on the overall podium picture here. Just the first couple of corners here, Paul. But, you know, starts are crucial. Hunter Lawrence is going to have to work his way back into the top 10.
Certainly.
He's going to have to pull some moves in these first couple of laps because Jonas is going to be away.
Well, great start for David Pooches. And tell you what, there is Sinai just muscling his way past. I think that was Watson, wasn't it? Yeah. Where is Sever Bryakov? He's in around about 10th place at the moment. So actually all 3 Khmer Yamahas very well positioned, but Watson just getting his head down. It was a good opening moto for the young Brit coming home in 4th place. Can he get himself on a podium here at the opening round of the World Championship? Well, we'll soon find out.
It's been a good first race from in Yamaha colours. Set a personal best 3rd in qualification yesterday. 4th was equal in personal best, which he did last year at Otto Biano, if I remember. So, you know, Ben Watson on the fringe of a fantastic debut on that YZ 250F.
Up and through the trees. This will be the first official full lap. Remember, you have to go from finish line to finish line in terms of recording the first time you cross the line to register that first official lap. So whilst they're on their 2nd lap on this part of the racetrack, they won't be registered officially until they cross the line in about a minute's time or so. But it's still Jonas who leads. Pooches on the face of the jump now in 2nd. 3rd is Covington. 4th on the Kawasaki, the green machine, is Darian Sinai. Thomas Kjær-Olsen now up in the 5th. The blue Yamaha there just going by was Watson. Then we've got Yargo Kietz looking nervously over his shoulder. This has been a great lap for Hunter Lawrence because he's now found himself just behind these guys and he's pushing hard on this 2nd lap, Adam.
Yeah, he's made at least 6 positions there. That's what he needed to do. I mean, Jonas also got maybe a 1.5 lead second already. It's quite a hefty gap there, Paul, just by the 2nd lap.
I know we've seen him winning in the mud at the Motocross of Nations and at Villars-Suzerain last year, but obviously a lot of water went down before the start of this race. But it does dry very quickly here, and I just wonder whether some of those riders were a little bit tentative, a little bit cautious, and someone like Hunter Lawrence obviously rides very fluid in those kind of conditions, has just thrown, you know, hasn't thrown caution to the wind and just gone, you know what, I need to ride this first lap like it's the last lap.
I asked him if the track was better to ride today than yesterday, and he actually said that he was better. He seemed to point out that, you know, there wasn't that much going on with the track in terms of technical demand from his perspective, but, you know, he really picked up the pace in that first moto. Where is he running now? Up to 7th?
Yeah,
8th place. So the Australian close to a first podium finish. Took 2 last year on the Suzuki in the last 3 rounds, was it?
Yeah, he took 2nd overall, certainly at the final round and also in the US, so 2 of the final 3 rounds.
This is a great start by Covington as well. Let's not forget, you know, he finished 2017 at the Motocross of Nations with knee surgery, well, a knee injury, so he pretty much missed the bulk of the winter in that training period. I'm just hoping we won't see a similar season from him this year, Paul, like he had last year, where one motor he would shine and be fighting for the win, and the next one be buried outside of the top 10.
2 Huskies there, just battling. That was also almost reminiscent of the 2 KTMs on the opening lap of the first race in 2015, but Thomas Covington getting pushed wide by Thomas Kjær-Olsen, and the American then cuts back to the inside. And Sinai got the best seat in house, even when he looks back there to see them warring Husqvarnas jostling for position in, what, 5th place.
Olsen easily the tallest rider in this class. Makes a difference on a 250, doesn't it? It's, you know, he really needs to keep an eye on his weight. But the way he manhandles the 250, just watch it, it's kind of interesting. You know, he's kind of all over the bike, really making himself work. It's it's tiring as well, I guess. Speaking to Rasmus Jorgensen, his kind of mentor and trainer, it's a kind of particular style that Thomas has to work on.
Yeah, and I rode his bike last year in October after the Motocross of Nations. Not an easy bike to ride either, the way that he has it set up. Obviously, he's very tall, handlebars very forward in the clamp, and his fork legs are actually longer by about 1 centimetre over the production factory forks, if you know what I mean, that everybody else is using. So, you know, he's got some special equipment in that bike just to help him get the best out of it. Right, here's Hunter Lawrence. He's back over the line now in 7th place. He's got Jargo Geerts just ahead of him in 6th, and Thomas Covington in 5th place. But it's Davy Puchis, Paul Jonas, who leads at the moment by almost 6 seconds. A fastest lap of the race that time around on lap 2, 1:45.6. He is obliterating everybody else at the moment. Thomas Kjær-Olsen in 3rd. Sanai is in 4th. There's the TM of Samuele Bernardini. He's in 9th place at the moment. He's got B'elanna behind him for Team HRC. A poor start for the South African, and he already had a lot of work to do in Moto number 1. Eventually came home in 18th place, so might not be the perfect Grand Prix weekend for Team HRC on what's been a very difficult weekend for him anyway, with no Tim Geiser and Brian Bogers in the MXGP class, Adam.
Absolutely, and it's just keeping an eye further on the standings on the bottom of the screen there. Jorge Prado, who's renowned for his starts, struggling again, Paul. I mean, he's down in 13th. I think that was the last time the ticker read. But, you know, he broke his elbow just before Christmas, his right elbow, so, you know, that obviously restricted training time, restricted racing time in pre-season. So this is his first kind of real flurry of action, if you like, in 2018. I think it's showing just with some of the little mistakes that he's paying for.
Yeah, Hunter Lawrence looking fantastic here at the moment. Bad start, but making light work of everybody. And sometimes riders relax a little bit more when they make a bad start, and you know, they just ride on instinct. You know, we've said it time and time again, and Hunter Lawrence doing that just right now. You know, in the first race, he led. He got the foxhole shot, got passed very quickly by Darren Sinai. That helped him settle in a little bit because he got somebody to chase. But then all of a sudden, you're spending a lot of time out there on your own from lap 3. You've got a lot of time to think, you know, and then those mistakes crept in, just like they did, you know, one of the races last year where, you know, he was just kind of thinking, you know, it might have been the heat race, actually, in Matchley Basin, where he was leading Zach Osborne, you know.
He actually admits he makes mistakes last year. It was his rookie season. I don't think, you know, you'd expect kind of perfection or a decent level of consistency on that basis. Also, he was riding for a Suzuki team, which, you know, obviously had some internal difficulties and is no longer here in part of the paddock. So it's, you know, it's a fresh start for Hunter. And just looking at the riders ahead of him, Thomas Covington, as we said, struggling a little bit for race fitness, perhaps. Darren Sinai obviously missing the second part of that first moto. Davy Puchis as well. He's not had a great deal of racing time after, you know, his shoulder injury last year. So in theory, you know, Hunter, if he can get going, he can make up to the top 3 here.
Yeah, well, David Puchis last year, I know he was blighted by injury, but he did get that second place finish in the Mudfest that was Indonesia in Moto number 1. He led for a number of laps, didn't he? But look at the 2 Yamahas going at it here.
Yeah, that's Watson just trying to pass Geerts, obviously a rookie in this class. It's an interesting blend Yamaha have. They have Ben Watson, you know, this is his 3rd year in the category. And two years ago broke his foot badly, missed most of the 2016 season at this very Grand Prix. So Ben, to get a, you know, some kind of personal best or a great result here would be pretty kind of poetic, actually.
I'll tell you who's on the charge here and looking very, very comfortable. That man in red, or certainly on the red bike, Kelvin B'elanna and Team HRC. Full factory HRC machine, the CRF 250R. And man, he's putting in some laps at the moment, isn't he? Because he's got the 2 Khmer Yamahas ahead of him, and he's doing that perfect thing. Look at that, no following, and he's going to pick them both off here by the time he gets to the final turn, I'm sure. First one was Jargo Geerts, still in school, of course, until about June, July. Man down on that exit of the turn. Who was that?
Just on the inside. As Hud said, was a back marker at this stage, or one of our leaders.
Was it Covington?
Covington's now down in
7th. I think it's Covington. Just had a bobble there. And he's now coming under attack from the number 10 of B'elanna as they hit turn 2. And, well, Covington runs the South African wide. And on that number 10, but look at the style there, up on the pegs, letting the rear end soak up all the bumps through that very, very fast right-hand turn. And B'elanna just taking no prisoners, is he? He's now up into 6th position.
And like Hunter Lawrence riding the brand new version of that CRF 250, Paul. And basically, you know, he's on the HRC version, so he's got some extra trick bits, but, you know, it's Honda out to show their colours very much in MX2 this year.
Yeah. Well, as it would stand right now, Paul Jonas, of course, would win the Grand Prix. 2 perfect scores, 50 points. And Thomas Carroll would be on the second step of the podium with 42, with a third and a second. And Hunter Lawrence would be on the box, which would be a dream start, really, for the Honda 114 Motorsports team. Third overall, and he's still picking off positions. And he's still got room in hand as well, because Watson is about 5 points further back. So those two still have room for improvement. David Puches and Darren Sinai. Sinai, the American, getting the better of the young Dutchman. He's had a strange couple of seasons, hasn't he, Adam Wheeler? David Puches riding the LRT KTM now. Just injuries have kicked in and whatever else. Has he had too much time? Has he had enough time on the bike coming into this opener here in Patagonia?
He was, I would say no. I mean, he was hyped as the next Hurlings, wasn't he? Very much in the Netherlands. Had a Red Bull KTM contract, 2 seasons with that team as well. But just, there was some brief speed, there was some good, flashes of results, but just injuries kept him away. I mean, I doubt if he's put maybe 3, 4, 5, 6 Grand Prix together. So David Puches is a big season for him, riding for Julian Lieber's team, which obviously, maintains its presence in MX2, despite the fact that its namesake has gone on to MXGP.
Well, as it stands right now then, like 5 laps in the bag. Paul Jonas almost 9 seconds clear on his Red Bull KTM. Thomas Kjær-Olsen on the Rockstar Energy Husqvarna is in second place. Darian Sinai in third on that Bike It DRT Kawasaki. And I tell you what, if he stays there, Adam Wheeler, it'll be a shame that what happened in the first motor, because he was running in third when he had those difficulties with the bike on lap 9 that forced him out of the first race. Here's Hunter Lawrence going past David Puches, no doubt, by the end of the straight. Yep, so now Lawrence up into 4th place with that move on the young Dutchman. And then we've got, so obviously Puches now in 5th. Ben Watson just there in blue. He's still circulating in 6th place. He would love to pick a couple of points back off of David Puches as he looks for a first ever podium.
Yeah, I think that move by Hunter Lawrence has pretty much consolidated his podium bet there. 5 points over Ben Watson. I mean, Ben's going to have to move past Puches, but then also grab Lawrence. It could be something that could develop in the second part of this race.
It depends how long he spends behind the 46, though, because he can't afford to do that too much, can he?
I think Puches is struggling now. Good line.
Yeah, so Watson then charges his way up the inside of David Puches, gets himself up into 5th position now, I think. So good ride that from Ben Watson. Tell you what, Jargo Geerts just off the back of this group. There's Kelvin B'elanna at number 10, and Jargo Geerts on the 193. He's also looking very, very impressive here, and what's going to be a first full season for him in MX2.
And B'elanna, and the one to watch, really.
Yeah.
Last lap was his best one, so just trying to cut through traffic.
Would it be fair to say that obviously when Tim Geiser was riding in MX2 for Garibaldi and obviously went on to win the World Championship, HRC's development of the 250 has started to increase a little bit. Didn't seem to be a full factory thing last year while it was the Martin Honda, but is that the real McCoy now in 2018?
It's hard to say because it's been so inconsistent, isn't it? They had that glorious year in 2015
yeah,
with Tim Geiser. But then when he moved out of the class, there was no clear replacement to try and defend that title. I mean, it was almost as if Honda knew they had a new 250 bike coming and they thought, right, okay, well, we'll just wait a year and then push again. Hunter Lawrence was a late signing, arguably, one of the best technically they could have in the MX2 class. As we know, he's departing to the United States in 2019. That deal's already done. But Kelvin B'elanna has been one of those riders that has been simmering away over the last 3 or 4 years, Paul, just making his name as a tough rider, a very determined, fit rider. So he's got his chance on a great motorcycle, and if Honda put their full resources into it, then there's no reason why they cannot be fighting for MX2 honours again, because they've been in the class since the beginning in 2004, but they had to wait a long time for any kind of real trophies.
Well, here's Jargo Geerts on the right in blue on that Khmer Yamaha, looking to find a way past the 46 of David Puches on that LRT KTM, and Jargo Geerts at the moment 6th overall in the Grand Prix. He's on 22 points, so he's looking very, very good. Ahead of him is Jed Beaton. He made the podium at Villars-Suzerain at the final round on a Honda. He's now on the F&H Kawasaki, whereas he's 9th in the race at the moment. So riders still making gains, and there's Geerts going past David Puches on lap 7. But it's Jonas now who continues to lead, 8 seconds clear of Thomas Kjær Olsen. Darian Sinai third, Hunter Lawrence now fourth, and he's 2 seconds behind the American, and lap times almost identical to the Kawasaki rider. Ben Watson puts his best lap of the race with a 47.6 as well, so he's not too far off the pace, a couple seconds adrift of Hunter Lawrence. Then we've got Vlaanderen, who was a little bit slower than the guys ahead of him that time around. So has he hit the wall, or has he been dealing with traffic? We'll soon find out in the next couple of laps or so. Geert's now into 7th, Pucha's 8th, Jed Beaton 9th, and Jorge Prado is in 10th place. Difficult weekend for the young Spaniard. I think he was hoping for a lot more. How much did this crash through those waves catch him out and take out of him, Adam, yesterday?
I think it was one of several crashes that made the organisers, well, you know, the track guy, the crew here have done a fantastic job by just levelling them off, taking the top off those waves, and that section of the track pool has been pretty, you know, key, you know, for a lot of riders, you know, getting speed through there. We saw it in the first MXGP motor with Jeffrey Hurlings in particular, you know, going wide. It got a little chewed up on the entry here by the last sort of 5 to 6, 7 minutes of the moto, but, you know, if the riders could get that section right, it was worth half a second.
Does get very physically demanding here, though, doesn't it, in the later stages of the afternoon, this Patagonia racetrack. Bit of a road race when they go out in the first few laps, but they did rip it a lot more overnight, and I think that has also been a vital part in this racetrack, because the previous years we've been here, they've left it flat, and, you know, it seemed to pack down over the years, and, you know, to the point where you could trust ripping it and softening it up a little bit just to create that, you know, that variation. Certainly in the corners.
I mean, if we talk about the track, it's hard to almost see it on the TV. It kind of looks sandy, but it's actually much thicker. It's like bigger granules, and it kind of almost saps, you know, the power of the bike. Not in a way that sand does, and it pitches the bike in different ways, but it is, you know, it's pretty hard underneath, like you say, and grip is very kind of inconsistent in a way. That's what the riders are saying. So it's by no means an easy track, even though the layout itself is not particularly demanding, and it's fast.
Hunter Lawrence just releasing the handlebar as he came over the finish line at that moment. Wasn't sure if it was a tear-off that was trapped under the hand between the glove and the grip, or whether he was just shaking out a little bit of arm pump there, but wonder if we can see a replay of that, actually. Hunter coming over the line about 30 seconds ago, because you know, we'd be looking for a tear-off just to sort of disappear from the shot there if that was the case. But what was his lap time compared to Sinai that time? About 2 tenths slower. So Sinai doing a great job on that bike at DRT Kawasaki. And you were telling me, Adam, you know, when you've been looking around the paddock, those Dixon Kawasaki's are very, very trick, you know, a little bit lighter and all the rest of it.
Yeah, it's typical Steve Dixon, really. He's always looking to try and do something different, trying to get some sort of advantage. I mean, KTM and Husqvarna are very much the reference in this category. So, you know, there's elements of that bike that are seriously impressive. I mean, the guys have some sort of carbon shroud on to help airflow to the engine, and it's very much a work in process. You know, one reason for manufacturing your own parts is obviously to get something a little unique, but then it takes time. So, you know, Darian hasn't had any pre-season races, like he told Lisa, and there's the overall podium standings there. 40 points, Ben Watson's next on 34 points, so Hunter Lawrence has got a bit of breathing room both on the track and in the standings. Yeah. But coming back to the Kawasaki, you know, that's the disadvantage the team have in developing their own parts, but then there's some really special stuff. It's worth having a look.
Well, PJ, Pauls Jonas, that lead shrinking a little bit. He was, almost 9 seconds clear. He's only 7 seconds now over Thomas Kjær Olsen, helped by the fact that the Dane put in a 46.8 compared to a 48.5, so maybe a slight error there from Pauls Jonas. I wouldn't say he was tightening up in any way.
I think it's telling, actually, because it was this time last year in the first round of 2017 that Pauls Jonas took his first Grand Prix win. It was a close affair with Benoit Patorel, who aged out of the category. You know, where is Jonas's nearest challenger now? I mean, he's here back in the first Grand Prix again, and dominating much more than he did 12 months ago. So it's, you know, I think he can throw the gauntlet to the rest of the class. My money's on this rider here, but, you know, if he cannot match the starts or try and find a... Oh,
that was an ugly landing, actually. There was a lot of braking bumps on the downside of that, and he caught one of them front end plumb. And he was almost over the bars there, actually. Thomas Kjær Olsen on that jump.
It's cool to watch Thomas. Like we were saying earlier, he's just got a very sort of particular style. I think he'll be fantastic on a 450 when he moves up, but I think he's still only 20 years of age, so he's got plenty of time. Former dominant European champion.
Watch this here. When he comes into land, so a little bit out of shape through the waves. Keep it going until the downside, because when he lands, you watch this here. Everything's nice there. We switch cameras. No. missed it. But
he didn't.
No, he almost missed it. But 10.5 minutes plus 2 to go then, MX2 race 2, and Jonas continues to lead. But will this guy have enough time, Thomas Kjær-Olsen, to whittle away at that gap? It was down just a little bit a moment ago. Is it still coming down? A 47.3 and a 47.4? No, so it's still stabilised at 7 seconds or thereabouts between Jonas and Olsen. Still a very impressive performance from Sinai, though, because you've got arguably 2 of the best MX2 riders in the world at the moment, only about 3/10 quicker than him, so he'll take confidence from that. Well, here's Thomas Kjær-Olsen. What can he do about Jonas? Thomas Kjær-Olsen on the Rockstar Energy Husqvarna. He's got a little bit of breathing space, about 6 seconds over Darian Sinai. Then we've got Hunter Lawrence, whose pace has started to slow. Or is that a 48 or a 45 that time there? A bit of a blur on our timing screen, but he's about 4 seconds down at the moment on the American. So it'll be interesting to see whether that time is starting to... Well, here is Lawrence, and...
Ben Watson.
Watson, so it was a difficult lap there, and I wonder if there is arm pump that's been creeping in to Hunter Lawrence's game, because he was shaking the hand then as he came over the line. Looks like he doesn't have an answer, and this could play into the hands of Watson. He'll nick a couple of points here away. Heavy landing there in the G out. Remember, Carroll fell there a year or 2 ago. But Ben Watson then taking 2 points away from the guy who was ahead of him in the overall classification. Let's give you a quick rundown on that. Pauls Jonas will win the Grand Prix if he stays where he is. He's on 50. Thomas Kjær-Olsen on 42. Lawrence was on 40 until that pass from Ben Watson. So he'll now move to 38. Watson was on 34. He's now on 36. So Hunter Lawrence, if he is riding with arm pump, can't afford to lose any more positions here, because there'll be a tie for that third position in the overall, and it will go in favour of Ben Watson for a first ever podium. But still, 8.5 minutes plus 2 laps to go. That'll be a dream start for either one of these two guys, Ben Watson or Hunter Lawrence, Adam Wheeler, but more so for Ben Watson.
What's more likely here, Paul? B'elanna closing up and making a little battle of Hondas, or do you think Ben Watson could push on and catch Sinai?
Well, 45.9 the lap there. Oh, sorry, 46.9 for Ben Watson. Hunter Lawrence 48.8, B'elanna 47.7. So Lawrence is probably more in danger of being caught than Ben Watson by B'elanna than anything else. And as we said, he can't afford to lose those couple of points.
That's right, you called it a moment ago. 2 points is the difference. I would just wonder if Ben Watson knows he's so close to his first podium finish. Pauls Jonas so far ahead, Paul. I mean, that's 7 seconds now. It's here's a little bit more the battle. Who are we looking at here? No, Kawasaki. That's Sinai, yeah, coming through. So the distance between him and Watson,
it's only 5 seconds. But they're almost identical lap times again, about 300s in it. At the end of lap 11, but 7.5 minutes plus 2 laps to go. Back markers just starting to affect Ben Watson there as he came into that turn. You can't afford Hunter Lawrence to get too much closer, but judging by the last lap, Watson definitely in the ascendancy and definitely getting his head down. He'll focus on the green Kawasaki ahead of him, which is Darian Sinai, and I would say, Adam Wheeler, that it's Lawrence who has to be more mindful of what's coming up from behind, because B'elanna definitely on the charge and quicker than the young Australian. And there he is, just on the end of the rhythm section now. So you've got Lawrence, 2 back markers, and then B'elanna on the red Honda. Just gets held up by a back marker there. He has to jump between the 2 of them. Got to be careful here, because these two Argentine or 2 South American riders in their own little battle.
B'elanna just making his way through. I think it's the back section there where the blue flags are, Paul. So it's the the guys are not going to be too aware of what's going on around them.
It's an impressive performance though for number 10, B'elanna. New bike, new team. The lone HRC representative here this weekend. A lot of pressure on his shoulders for Honda to get a result across both classes. But looks like he's dealing with it well. And he could just do with a solid season, couldn't he? An injury-free season.
He's having a look behind as well, Paul. He's just trying to work out which guy's kind of done with their pace. Who's just trying to eke it out towards the end of the race. I mean, Lawrence isn't being dropped, is he, by Watson?
Not yet. In fact, they all look pretty much equidistant, don't they, the 3 of those? The gap about the same between each of them. Has Lawrence been able to ride through the pain threshold there that arm pump generates, and has he been able to shake it out? Has he got what it takes in the next 540 plus 2 to go back after Watson?
Well, you've been in this position, I'm sure, as well, Paul. I mean, when you know that your podium finish is there in front of you, I mean, can you try and do anything? Can you try and push up or sort of manipulate that situation at all?
In terms of
just handling arm pump and thinking, well, I actually need that position, or there's a guy behind me, I can't afford to get past. How do you manage that?
Well, arm pump is the worst thing a rider can have, basically, because it affects your grip and everything else. And if it's whoa, a little bit skew there for Hunter Lawrence, but it's just difficult to hold on and difficult to grab the clutch if you need it, and nightmare on a throttle hand. But it was the left hand that he seemed to be struggling with as he came over the line a few laps ago. So arguably that's not so bad, because you can release the grip in the air and just relax a little bit more on that grip. But once it's there, it takes a long while to disappear. Sometimes it doesn't even go.
No problems for Olsen, I guess, in second place. He's pretty much clear there. 7 seconds behind Paul Jonas, another good 6 ahead of Darian Sanay. There's the leader. Wow, this is probably a dream start for Paul Jonas. I mean, you can't get much more dominant pole position in this manner yesterday. And then the way he hunted down Hunter Lawrence in the first moto, and then is doing, basically a training moto here. This is not only a fantastic outing for the new bike, Paul, but I'm sure the Latvian's going to get a lot of confidence from this.
Yeah, he will, definitely. Well, I spoke to him at the end of last year when we did the factory bike test in Holland, and he just, he was already looking forward to, going MXGP next year. That's not a, sort of a gloat or anything else, or being sort of boastful, but he just said, look, I've won the championship this year. No matter what happens in 2018, I'm going to MXGP.
Natural career step.
Yeah, for him. He's not interested in sort of like staying down there for as many years as he's eligible to stay in MX2. He just wants to, he's won his title, wants to try and defend it, and then move on.
That gap's visibly shrinking towards the between the Hondas, isn't it?
Yes. And this is Privateer, Honda, Geico engines, from the American team there in terms of what Hunter Lawrence is riding, and the full HRC, we would assume full HRC package from Kelvin B'elanna. So it was Hunter Lawrence, though, who was the dominant Honda in Moto number 1. In fact, his teammate Bas Vassen came home 14th in the first race as well. But where's Michele Chervelin? Because he also had a good ride. 8th in race 1. But is he on the leaderboard?
Looking down,
yeah,
pushes that to 12th.
Inside the top 20. So.
And Bas Vassen in 14th there, the former European Championship race winner. He's Lawrence's teammate, also on a Honda, brand new ride and team for him as well this year. Conrad Muse, maybe one a little bit better. British rider, ride on KTM machinery once more.
Yeah, good solid ride in the first race in 6th position.
Yeah, but Adam Sterry, another one of the Brits, down outside the top 20, but then the crash yesterday in qualification, I think he's hurt one of his fingers on his left hand.
Yeah, well, I spoke to him this morning, and he said he actually wasn't sure if he was going to make the Grand Prix, because he caught it on a metal post training in Holland and sliced right the way through the bend on the knuckle on the left finger, and basically when he went down, just ripped it open again. So he's been riding in it with that was Prado going by, Jed Beaton, by the way, just riding with it wasn't Jed Beaton, was it?
Yeah, it's up to 7th now. Yep, good call.
So basically just reopened that wound, and he wasn't sure, but it felt okay this morning. So having to ride through the pain barrier again, or the uncomfortable barrier. But look at Beaton carving his way back up the inside of Prado. How much is that right elbow affecting him, Adam?
Yeah, we're talking about comfort barrier as well, Paul. Even if there's no real pain there for Jorge Prado, then it's a case of first race, first real kind of, first kind of, I don't know, intensity. Yeah, intensity riding the 250F this year. I mean, he's in a different kind of element of the Red Bull KTM team there, kind of almost directly under Tony Cairoli and Claudio De Carli's wing. Last year was his first, at this level. Easily the longest season, like we said on the studio show the other day. So I don't think it was fair to make too many expectations of him last year. But this year he knows he's got to step it up. And it was good to see him crash and keep fighting in the first moto, even if it was to take a few points for 16th place. So here's Blanderen's right there, isn't he? Yeah, the second and third riders in shot just before we closed in there. Is that Watson still
as well? Yeah, so Watson has still not been able to drop Hunter Lawrence, but I tell you what, this next 3 laps Adam, is going to be the defining moment, because we've got B'elanna closing in on Hunter Lawrence, who's now closing back in on Ben Watson. And whichever way that goes, Watson can't do any more than he's doing. You know, he's relying on B'elanna to pick off the Australian to get him on the podium. And we've got yellows here. Man down at the end of the waves. Final 3 laps of this second MX2 race here in Patagonia, Argentina. And Ben Watson looking like he might be tiring here. And I think number 96, Hunter Lawrence, may have just ridden through that pain barrier that is arm pump and shook it off. Maybe he's got the crew on the boards telling him that you need to pass just to be sure. You can't afford to lose any more mistakes or make any more mistakes, lose any more positions. So all of a sudden in the race, we've got a 3-way battle between Watson in blue, Hunter Lawrence just behind him there in yellow, and Kelvin B'elanna, who's sneaking up with each passing lap. And that will be the determining factor in terms of this third overall in the Grand Prix. Jonas on 50, Thomas Carroll on 42, Lawrence, second rider in shot at the moment, he's on 38, and Watson, just ahead of him in blue, is on 36. But if B'elanna goes through, he'll steal those 2 points away from Lawrence, and that'll force it into a tied podium, which Ben Watson, if he stays there, will would take it.
Ben's just looking around him a couple of times, Paul. I think he's struggling a little bit in the later stages of this race.
Just needs to dig deep.
He said in the first moto it was a little bit the same. Oh,
another mistake. He did exactly the same thing in moto number 1 that allowed Jonas to get through.
Big leap by B'elanna in there, just making a lot of time over that little sort of knuckle jump.
Can't afford those kind of mistakes. Hunter Lawrence is given a little bit of breathing space to Ben Watson right when he needed it. And he's just put himself under pressure. B'elanna, will he? No, he thought about cutting to the inside. He's gone for the momentum around the outside. He'll go wide and square off through this next rhythm section, drag him back. Or will he rail it around the outside and get the momentum through the waves? He's got good drive here. Looks like it's working so far, Adam. Not quite. There was a bobble there from Lawrence at the end of the waves as well, but he now knows he has to defend. And the back end comes out. Another mistake. Another let off for Watson.
No, it was Lawrence there, Paul, just hanging on by his fingernails now. We thought, like we said a minute ago, it was going to be Watson who's going to be mugged, and he still could, because B'elanna is kind of the aggressor here. There's a nice line there through the wave section. On the 450s, you can see them just doubling that way, and it's one of the faster but riskier ways to go.
Right. This is shaping up to be a very tense end to this second MX2 race. Watson in the clear at the moment, and it's Lawrence who is riding defensive as he tries to protect that third overall in the Grand Prix. It would be a dream start. Oh, I tell you what, it would be a dream start for Livia Lancelo and Honda 114 Motorsports. First Grand Prix outing for this new team, and a third overall step on the podium would be just what they ordered. But it's not over yet. We're on the final lap now, because Jonas has gone through 6.2 seconds clear of Thomas Kjær-Olsen. He's got that in hand, and Sanai about another 6 seconds further back in third. But Watson, Lawrence and B'elanna, they are fighting over fourth, but these two here are fighting over fifth position, and B'elanna is going to jump long again.
He's taking it. He's going to do Watson a big favour here, Paul. But
he's just done that favour.
It's a question of whether the Yamaha man gets sucked in as well.
Well, he's just done him a favour, because as it stands right now, when that flag goes out in about 3/4 of a lap's time, if it stays like this, B'elanna has just handed Ben Watson third overall in the Grand Prix. On that, I'm sure.
No, he's going to attack him. B'elanna is going for the top 3 here.
But even if he finds his way past Watson, does that affect it? I tell you what, does he steal those 2 points back?
Jonas, Olsen, Sanai, Watson, top 4. B'elanna, is he going to make it?
I don't think it's going to be a mistake from Watson that allows B'elanna through, I think he's just going to run out of time. He needs another lap, certainly to the exit of the first turn, to execute the pass. There's Sanai just in the background there, hitting the iPhone jump. He's still in third position. That'll be great for him, a best ever race result for the American.
I can see it coming in the last sector, that those two kind of that switchback coming before the finish line, Paul. I think B'elanna's going to try and move there.
Well, we need to keep an eye on our battle there. Here's Jonas. He's getting ready to cross the line for the second time. He's topped every session, free practice, time training, the qualifying race, moto number 1. He's going to round out the final turn now. We'll see Jonas take the line to win the MXGP of Patagonia, Argentina. The perfect day for Jonas and the defending champion. Thomas Kjær-Olsen over the line now in second. Let's go back to that battle between...
Oh, there it is. He's got it. He's got it. Oh, B'elanna got up the inside.
Oh! Watson is going to be on the podium here for the first time on the Khmer Yamaha. Is he? Let's check the scores. Will they... Ooh, I'll tell you what. No, by a point. Lawrence on 37 and Watson on 36. Wow, so what was that? 25. Look how tight that was. So yeah, 25, 22, 20, 18, 16, 15.
Really tight. You could see Watson's body language there. It was a case of like, oh, did I make it? No.
No, wasn't enough in the end. So Hunter Lawrence does take third overall. Jonas wins it with 50. Olsen 42, Lawrence 37, and Watson 36. A close result for those two. All right, here's the winner with Lisa.
Paul Jonas, congratulations, your first overall win for the 2018 season. It really couldn't have gone much better this weekend for you.
Yeah, you know, the weekend went just perfect. I won every single practice, qualifier race, and now today both motos, you know, and I'm really, really happy, you know, the hard work in the off-season paid off, but, you know, this is only the first round, and, you know, we still need to keep working and keep improving because it's long season, 19 rounds, and the most important thing is just to, just to be consistent every single race like I did last year, so that's the main goal, but I want to say huge thanks to everyone who support me, especially Red Bull KTM Factory Racing team, and they built this year so good bike, and I couldn't be happier with the bike, and also, you know, all my physical trainer, my riding coach, all my team, my family, just thanks everyone, and greetings to people in Latvia.
Fantastic job, thank you.
Perfect start then, Adam Wheeler for Paul Jonas, the defending champion. Couldn't have gone any better, could it, really?
No, I mean, he made the obligatory thank yous and, you know, correct gestures after the race ball, but it's telling that he also mentioned the bike. You know, I think it's KTM have been mentioning that they found another little step, particularly on the 250 in the winter, and I think we've seen part of that today. The way that thing could track out of the corners, especially in the first moto when Paul's hunted down onto Lawrence, and it was you know, a fantastic victory, a dominant weekend.
So we'll give you the official confirmation then of MX2 Race 2 in a moment. Of course, the overall classification as well in just a few moments' time. But certainly a nail-biting end to MX2 Race 2. Jonas wins it from Olsen, Sinai, Watson and B'elanna. Paul Jonas then your winner for Red Bull KTM in Race 2. Thomas Kjær-Olsen second on the Rockstar Energy Husqvarna. Darren Sinai, great ride for the American. Bike kit, DRT Kawasaki. Then the Khmer Yamaha of Ben Watson. The HRC Honda of Kelvin B'elanna. 114 Honda Motorsports. Hunter Lawrence and Prado. Jed Beaton on the FNH Kawasaki. Sever Bryakov, Jago Hirtz. The SM Migliori Yamaha from Alvin Ostlund in 11th. The Ottabiano Husqvarna of Ika Larinaga, then Bas Bassen, the LRT KTM of David Puches, Stephen Rubini on the Silver Action KTM and the rest. And then here's your overall. Paul Jonas, Thomas Kjær-Olsen and Hunter Lawrence, your top three. Watson just missing out by a point. Jed Beaton, though, top five for him. That's great for Kawasaki. And then we've got Bryakov, Jacobi and Sinai. Jago Geertz, great performance for him as well, the young teenager. And Kelvin B'elanna rescuing his weekend with that fight for fifth in Moto number 2. Just ran out of time, but he'll be pleased that he's got some decent points on the board, and he showed good speed all weekend, Adam.
Absolutely. After the misfortune in the first moto, Paul, I think, you know, the Honda guys can be pretty happy with the overall results. Good ride from Hunter Lawrence as well, and B'elanna showing, you know, some of the ability and the determination for which he was signed. So like we said, it was a disaster for HRC coming to this Grand Prix, and I think he's given some positive signs, hasn't he, for the future?
Certainly given him a lift.
Round 2 in 2 weeks' time is in the sand of Valkenswaard, the Euro Circuit in Holland, and, you know, I think that will be a strong race for that rider in particular.
He knows that place very, very well, and I think, judging by what we've seen today, I think that HRC Honda is more than capable. That CRF 250 machine that he's riding is more than capable of getting a decent result around there, and like I say, he could even be knocking on the door for a podium, if not a win. But Jonas, no slouch in the sand either, nor is Prado. So Prado's got a couple more weeks to get himself 100% fit. And be interesting to see if he can affect the proceedings there, because we need a spanner in the works already, don't we, by round 2. So Davy Puchis with the second foxhole shot then of the weekend.
Close.
It was very, very close, but he picked one up last year, got another one this year. So Hunter Lawrence and Davy Puchis, your black plate winners here.
It's the only thing that Paul Jonas didn't really get right all weekend.
Didn't make the starts. And another rider who didn't make the starts, who was so dominant last year, is Prado. So be interesting to see how that plays out over the course of the year. Getting ready for the podium then, and it's the first podium of 2018, the MXGP of Patagonia, Argentina, here in the Garden of Patagonia, just outside of Villa Langostura. Third overall, and first time on the podium for a brand new team. Hunter Lawrence with that Honda 114 Motorsports machine, and Livia Lancelo, I'm sure, will be chuffed to bits down there, Adam Wheeler.
He's not wearing his Argentina shirt this time.
No, only in practice. Yeah. Thomas Carroll, Rockstar Energy, Husqvarna Factory Racing on the podium once again, and for TKO. And Paul Jonas, of course, he'll stand on the top step, just like he did last year.
He doesn't look like he's on the top step next to TKO, does he?
No. Anyway, actually, we joked, didn't we, when they walked by in town the other day at the
rider signing.
The rider signing in town. We were on a curb about 3 foot taller, and he still walked past taller than us. Either that or we're just short asses. Anyway, trophies being dished out here, and Hunter Lawrence takes his third place trophy from the mayor of Villa Langostura. Just down the road. Great little city, town, village. Nice little place. Great part of the world, as we said.
Just finishing summertime here. It's about to head into the autumn for the Argentinians, and then this place becomes quite a popular ski resort.
Yeah. Well, Thomas Kjær-Olsen will take second place trophy. And Mitch Covington, the VP of Sports Marketing at Monster Energy, doing the honours there. And I tell you what, Adam, he had one podium last year, did Thomas Kjær-Olsen, and it was a win in Latvia. This is his first podium since then.
So he's only had 2.
This is his second ever podium.
I think for top 3 moto finishes, he's got to be a bit more prolific, because it seems like he was always part of the leading group at some point in 2017.
But the governor of the province of Neuquén handing the winner's trophy to Paul Jonas, the overall winner here, just like he was 12 months ago. And that's your top 3.
If you look to the right, Dirk Grubel, the team manager of the MX2 side of the operation. I mean, he's almost on the podium as much as like the Monster Girls, isn't he? I mean, yeah. the record for KTM in the MX2 class is nothing short of staggering. I think it's 7 different world champions since 2004. I think Jonas this year is looking to become the 3rd to do the double, Hurlings and Marvin Musquin, just the only other 2. So.
Well, the red plate going to Paul Jonas, delivered by Tony Skillington, the FIM CMS director. And he's building up quite a collection of those now, is Paul Jonas, because, as we said, he won the opening round in Qatar last year. He lost the lead for 3 rounds, but from round 5 to 19, he never let go of it, and he continues to hold the red plate as we go into the next Grand Prix, the MXGP of Europe in Valkenswaard in 2 weeks' time. And for Paul Jonas and his army of Latvian fans, the other side of the pond, the national anthem of Latvia. Your top 3 then from the MX2 Grand Prix of Patagonia, Argentina. Paul Jonas, Red Bull KTM Factory Racing, Thomas Kjær-Olsen, Rockstar Energy, Husqvarna Factory Racing, and Hunter Lawrence of Australia, Honda 114 Motorsports. We'll talk to the top 3, the other side of the best moments. And Lisa Leyland will be doing her best to catch up with the top 3 guys from MX2 in just a few moments. Some of the best moments then from the second MX2 race here from Patagonia. And Lisa Leyland should be down in the podium area, just getting ready to speak to our top 3, starting with our winner, Paul Jonas, and being told they are en route, so we'll bring you that as quickly as possible. We do have about 5 minutes before we are back on air with the MXGP second race, but a good start to the MX2 season in 2018, and none better for this guy here, Paul Jonas. Here he is with Lisa.
Paul Jonas, congratulations. First overall of the 2018 season. A combination of the new bike and your hard work seems to have paid off.
Yeah, you know, it's nice to keep the red plate, my red number 1 for red for also next round, and you know, it looks amazing on Red Bull Canadian Factory Racing Team bike, and I'm really, I was really confident coming into the new season, and now, you know, I show that I can go fast, and we still have some places where we can improve, and we will keep working, and you know, looking forward already for Vulcan Sword, and you know, that's a San GP which I like, so you know, really looking forward for the rest of the season.
Great job, thank you, Paul. Second overall today we have Thomas Carroll. Thomas, solid weekend for you. That second moto, you were 7 seconds behind Jonas. Were you settling for that second place, or were you still pushing to pass?
I was still pushing because there was guys behind me also that were pushing too, so I had to keep up the pace. But no, I felt solid all weekend, and I was really calm coming into this weekend because I knew we did a job in the winter, and yeah, I just want to thank my trainer Rasmus Jorgensen, the whole team, Rockstar Energy Factory Husqvarna team, and my mechanic Jordan, and my family for supporting me, my girlfriend, and I want to say a special happy birthday to one of my best friends, Matthias.
Congratulations, thank you. Third overall we have Hunter Lawrence. Hunter, it was so close between you and Ben Watson, but a great start for you. Were you suffering a bit from arm pump as well? And you seem a little bit disappointed. I don't know why, because you're on the podium.
No, I just sucked, simple as that, you know. We in the first moto it was pretty good, you know. We've been struggling with just some personal things the past week and a half, and we're not quite on top of it, but yeah, no excuses. The boys were on it today, and yeah, it was a bit of a surprise. You know, I got passed by Vlanderen and Watson in the last moto, so I didn't think I'd be on the box. So on a bad day and not my favourite track, we're on the box, so I think a lot of positives to take away, but yeah, got to give it up to the team. You know, they've done an awesome job. Livy in her first year, Monster 100%, Fox and Shift, you know, all those boys, and everyone that supports me at home, and yeah, appreciate it. Can't wait till round 2. So
thanks, Hunter.
So there were your top 3 then from the MX Grand Prix of Patagonia, Argentina. Hunter Lawrence 3rd, Thomas Carroll 2nd, and Paul Jonas. And Adam Wheeler, of course, we've just seen a glimpse of things to come, what we can expect for the rest of the season, can't we? Paul Jonas looks like he's head and shoulders, you know, sort of above everybody else at the moment, but there are threats there lurking in the background. Thomas Carroll and Hunter Lawrence. Any more? Prado, if he's 100% fit, maybe? Ben Watson, perhaps?
Yeah, there's only 4 Grand Prix winners in the class, Paul, so I think the story setting up for the season almost is that, you know, who's going to challenge Paul Jonas? Like I said, he's thinking about MXGP the year after. It's going to be a season for him to, you know, further stamp his authority, if you like, in MX2 before he disappears off and tries to do a new challenge. You know, Thomas Carroll and also Hunter Lawrence is disappearing, but there's a couple of guys in there, Ben Watson, Jorge Prado, who could be hanging around for a bit, so that's really where we're going to see riders developing. You know, they need to get that podium and winning experience.
Okay, well, more from Adam in just a moment. Of course, we'll be back in a few moments' time. When we return, it will be MXGP Race 2. Thanks for watching for now, but no more MX2 this weekend. When we're back, it's MXGP, the conclusion of the MXGP of Patagonia, Argentina. We'll see in just a few moments.
Vuelta previa en la categoría MXGP. Quiebra de muñeca de una manera improvisada por parte de los pilotos. Estamos en la bandera.